Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to discuss the Global Evidence Synthesis Initiative's call for submissions for expressions of interest to join the GESI Network. So today in our webinar, we will discuss 3 points, which are what is GESI, what is the GESI Network, and how to join the GESI Network. We will leave time for questions and answers. My name is Tamara Lutfi. I am the GESI Secretariat Coordinator, and I hope I can answer all your questions today. So to start, we are going to talk about the Global Evidence Synthesis Initiative. It is an initiative that aims to build capacity in evidence synthesis across sectors in low and middle income countries. Evidence synthesis is important because it identifies and combines systematically and transparently all the available and relevant evidence on a specific topic or question. It also draws out conclusions that are either generalizable or context-specific. Low and middle income countries have lower levels of production and use of evidence syntheses to inform practice and policy decisions compared to high-income countries. And this was reported as mostly due to limited capacity. The Global Evidence Synthesis Initiative was thus launched to enhance such capacity. The founding organizations of GESI are Cochrane, the Campbell Collaboration, the Alliance for Health Policy and Systems Research, the American Institutes for Research, the Collaboration for Environmental Evidence, the Epicenter, the International Initiative for Impact Evaluation, and the Joanna Briggs Institute. The Center for Systematic Reviews on Health Policy and Systems Research, SPARC, at the American University of Beirut, was selected through a competitive process to host and support the GESI Secretariat. And currently, we at the Secretariat are a team of 3, myself as the coordinator, along with Dr. Ili Ael and Dr. Fadi Al-Jardali. So now to talk about the network. The network aims to build partnerships and collaborations and to strengthen capacity in multidisciplinary evidence synthesis production and use in low-middle income countries. And what we mean here by multidisciplinary is that we are not limiting our work to health. As we all know, most evidence synthesis efforts have been done in the health discipline. We are interested in working on agriculture, education, law, crime, justice, hygiene, sanitation, health, and many other disciplines. So the network will first identify established centers of evidence synthesis in low and middle income countries, and then we'll connect them through this network. So what are we expecting from these centers when they join the network? We are looking for a broad coverage of topics, target audiences, geography, evidence synthesis types, and programmatic knowledge translation strategies to support the use of evidence synthesis, ranging from prioritization to translation to implementation and impact. Now, in our expressions of interest form, if you have seen it, and it's also attached here as a handout, we have elaborated on these 5 points. For example, for the topics, we are interested in a broad coverage of topics, and we've given the example of the SDGs. The SDGs are built around poverty, hunger, food security, nutrition, sustainable agriculture, healthy lives and well-being, education, water and sanitation, gender equality and women empowerment, energy, economic growth, and a long list of other topics. And we at GESI are interested in these topics and any other topics that can and are important to the centers and the region they belong to. For the target audience, these target audience that GESI is actually aiming for could be researchers and research funders. For the geography, as the World Bank defines the 6 geographic areas, we have Africa, East Asia and Pacific, Europe and Central Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean, the Middle East and North Africa, and South Asia. The GESI network will target all these regions, and of course, specifically those of low and middle income countries. Concerning the types of evidence syntheses, the evidence synthesis activities and capacity building activities we will be doing will range between rapid reviews and living systematic reviews, traditional systematic reviews of effects to evidence syntheses that include qualitative and mixed methods, and evidence syntheses that address a focused question of global interest. The question is today how to join the GESI network. Most importantly, we need to go to the website of GESI and find the expression of interest form. The form has many sections, and our deadline is April 15th. I will now open the form so that we can go through it. Does anyone like to ask any question? Please raise your hand, or you can just send a message if you would like to ask any question before we continue. Okay. So in the beginning, the form explains what GESI is, along with some definitions of the target, the broad coverage that we were talking about. And what we're asking for first, in the first section, the applicant section, is to fill in the institution name, the center's name, who is the lead applicant, and the position of the lead applicant, a mailing address, a telephone number, and an email. Second, we are looking for the center profile. We're asking for a list of the team members, the role of every team member, and what trainings and research syntheses experience, for example, workshops, have this person or the team attended. For example, if you have attended a workshop on how to conduct systematic reviews, that will be very important to mention. Or any other workshop about any kind or any type of evidence synthesis, it will be important to mention that. Moreover, if you yourself have conducted or hosted a workshop or a webinar, it will be very important to mention that in this part. In the details section, we ask to list training received in conducted research syntheses, such as overview of reviews, scoping reviews, a range of systematic reviews, effectiveness questions, implementation, views and acceptability questions, evidence briefs, rapid syntheses, and the number of published evidence syntheses. In the next section, we ask about the experience of the center, whether the center has experience in research syntheses or in knowledge translation, and whether the center is interested in gaining experience in research syntheses or knowledge translation, in what region the center has worked on, the number of published systematic reviews, the contribution to education and training in evidence syntheses. So specifically, if you or your center or your team have conducted a workshop about evidence syntheses. And then comes a section about whether you have used evidence for decision making. This is important if your center has, for example, synthesized evidence in which after that was used to affect decision-making process, a decision-making process. If you have a similar story, it would be very important to mention it in this section. And it is also important to mention if you have an involvement with local policymakers. Have you ever, for example, had a policy dialogue? Or have you involved policymakers or other stakeholders in a decision-making process. Then we ask about whether the center has a knowledge translation experience, which applies to these themes: prioritization and co-production, packaging push and support for implementation, facilitating pro, as in enabling discovery and use of evidence syntheses to inform decision-making, exchange, improve climate and build demand for evidence syntheses, effective and sustainable knowledge translation structures and processes in the organization. And for these same themes, we ask if the center is interested in working in them as part of knowledge translation. And then in this section, we also ask about whether whether the center belongs to any networks. In the fourth section, we ask the center to list the publications. So again, this is the list of publications by the center and not by a specific individual in the center. The publications we're aiming for would be evidence synthesis related publications. So it's systematic review protocols, overview of reviews, systematic reviews, evidence syntheses, including mapping, scoping, and rapid reviews. Also publications that focus on systematic review methodology, and knowledge translation products such as evidence briefs, policy briefs, or the use of evidence syntheses to inform decision making. In the last section of this expression of interest, we ask for a statement of expression of interest. This section requires a maximum of 2 pages, where you describe why your center is interested in joining the GESI network, how your center will benefit from the GESI network, and how your center will contribute to the GESI network. I would like to add that if your center specializes in one discipline, whether it's health, environment, food, agriculture, hygiene, economics, business, it will be important to also mention that. Don't forget to take a look at the appendix where we elaborate about the 5 aspects of coverage of the network that we have described earlier. So our presentation is done for now. I'm going to unmute. So if you have any questions, can you please raise your hand so that we can address the questions?